Gunung Padang is known as what?
Cikahuripan.
Cikahuripan, and this means the water of
Water
life.
of life.
Okay, is it this water of life? Is it connected with a spirit or something like this? A spirit who is at this place.
Yeah.
Is this spirit male or female?
Kind of. Both of
Both?
them. Both of
Nothing specific.
Nothing
Okay,
specific.
all right. Okay, thank you. Right, I'm just doing a little blessing in the name of the Weaver Princess, who I think is connected with this place, and the spirits of this place. Apparently this is exactly what people do before the great ascent up to the terraces of Gunung Padang. So in time-honoured fashion, I've just taken some of the water and put some on my forehead, and hopefully this will give us good luck when we get there. What I'm going to do now is make my offerings to the spirits of this place. It was very difficult to find something appropriate in the village below, but I have a banana here which I'm going to leave instead of the sacrifice which apparently could have been connected with this place in the past. So I'm going to leave this here as the offering to the spirits, the offerings to the Weaver Princess, and also this tiny little flower here, which is almost like a miniature sunflower. And may the spirits of this place guide us to make new discoveries. I mean, we've already discovered some incredible things about the rock mound just to the right, known as the crown of the earth, the crown of the world. We now know that there's a chamber possibly beneath this that could be pre-8000 BC. It could link in with the entrance into an underworld that exists somewhere beneath this step up from Terrace 1 into Terrace 2. And I'll show you where that is now. Right, here, this is the back of the rock mound. This is also known as the altar, and somewhere in this vicinity is the entrance into this this underground structure. Perhaps there's a tunnel here, perhaps there's some kind of cult shrine that was venerated and used, and perhaps even sealed at some point in the past to make way for this covering of stones making up the rock mound. Because we know that somewhere deep within here is this hollow cavity. This hollow cavity is either a natural lava tube, the product of volcanic activity here, perhaps tens of thousands, hundreds or even millions of years ago, you know, or it could actually be an artificial chamber. We're not sure. My personal feelings are that there is something natural here and that it has been enhanced over a very long period of time, perhaps 10,000 years or more, so that we're just seeing the surface of something incredibly deep going on at this site. And the more we find out, the more people tell us about the local legends and folklore, the more we're discovering already here at this site. Now, according to Danny Hillman, the stone settings, the quite simple stone settings, are probably the most recent period of activity. But he thinks that these stone walls that we see behind us, which go up in steps, are from layer 2. That's the much older level, and that probably dates to something like 4,000 to 5,000 BC, and that these are the remnants of an original stepped monument, but that beyond that and deeper than that is level 3, and that takes us into the area of around 8,000 BC or earlier. So, what you see here, this is part of the older structure. I think that's the conclusion that we have so far. Okay, we're now going to move from level 1 to investigate level 2 to see what is on the next step up. So we have to take this path here somewhere, and it's an andesite block, like all the rest, but it is six-sided, and this shows you the absolute example of a columnar block here, which is here. It's very much like what you would find at the Giant's Causeway in Ireland, where all of these blocks are vertically connected to each other. This is how they are formed naturally through volcanic activity, very abrupt and very quick and violent eruption of molten rock will harden quickly and create these columnar blocks. And that's exactly what you have here. But of course, all of the blocks that you see here are not in situ anymore. They've been moved from wherever the source of these blocks are to create this wonderful monument here at Gunung Padang. But actually, as to the source of this andesite, that's still a mystery. It might have come from somewhere beneath the hill itself, but on the other hand, they're suggesting that it could have come from some distance away, maybe 10 or even 20 kilometres away from here. But at this point in time, nobody actually knows where these andesite blocks came from. Okay, we've reached the second terrace, terrace number 2 at Gunung Padang, and here we can see again huge amounts of these columnar blocks, which are discarded and broken, and clearly have come from some kind of structure, more than simply some kind of rectangle or something like that, because there are just so many of them. They may well have come from another mound or structure that is integral to what is beneath the hill itself, and the tree here is pushing them up into the air, confusing what was here originally even more. But if I then turn this way and look towards the south, we can see several different stone settings here. We can see them in rows, we can see paths, we can see avenues, and they reach as far as the steps onto the third level here. I mean, my first impressions with what I see here, with the amount of columnar blocks that you can see, is that there was an immense amount of activity on this hill, probably involving hundreds if not thousands of people at certain times, and an awful lot of coordinated activity to create an incredibly large and incredibly impressive and a very important monument. Something which almost had to be done as part of a much bigger scheme, perhaps almost in the same way that so many thousands of people were brought together to create the Great Pyramid, or any other big structure, maybe Stonehenge. Although the purpose of that is an enigma for the moment. And also we're only talking about what we can see. And this probably only dates to about 2500 to 1500 BC. But there is a much deeper level, and that may relate to other types of activity here. But I think that the one thing that we can say is that we're dealing with ceremonial activity, ritual activity, religious activity, and a greater purpose, maybe to do with some kind of god or goddess or a spirit. And the fact that this monument is aligned towards the Gede stratovolcano, which at the moment you can't see because of the rain and the mist, to me, I think is a key to understanding what is going on here, and has been going on here certainly for the last 10,000 years, and perhaps even longer than that. Okay, we're moving through the second terrace here. There are literally hundreds of fragments of these andesite blocks everywhere. As we continue to walk through the site, let's see what we find. Obviously there's a modern structure here for the selling of drinks and whatever else on a sunny day, which it isn't today. There is a modern little hut over there which we can use to shelter, but as we go here we suddenly find that there's another step halfway along. Now, are we now going on to level 3? Perhaps we are. Let's have a look. There's obviously another border or boundary, but it's not at all like the one that we've just risen up from Terrace 1 to Terrace 2. So maybe this is a half step. You know, we don't know. We'll have to investigate further. And up here there's a very small stone setting, rectangular in shape, or in fact obviously today more an L shape because it seems to have been displaced by this tree that's coming out of here. But just look at the size of the stones. The stones are extremely small. You know, they're no more than half a metre in height, if that, possibly even a quarter. And this has the sense, the feeling of something much later to what we have just seen. So it could well be that these are among some of the last structures that were actually manufactured here. You know, perhaps during the Metal Age, as it is known here. About to move to the next level here. There's another little wall. It has some standing stones, but also some horizontal stones making the wall itself. As we come on to this next level, we find more of the smaller structures that we've just found on the level there. Once again, the stones are no more than about half a metre tall, but here's an interesting one right in the centre of this particular terrace. Now, we appear to have actually come to the final terrace, so we've actually got to try and count these steps properly because we seem to have arrived at the final one sooner than I thought. But we have here what's quite obviously a floor, and this is actually made of andesite blocks, so this almost seems to be some kind of building structure, and it could well be that it was from here that some kind of ceremonial rite was witnessed, perhaps from under a structure which no longer exists. You know, maybe there was some wooden features that we can't see anymore. But the sense I get while standing here is that this is where somebody, or perhaps a royal couple or something, would have stood to witness what was going on below, and that they would have looked out over the other terraces, the terraces that we've just climbed, the ones that only have small steps, and to have seen all of the activity going on. And I just sense here that there would have been a lot of people doing things, preparing for rituals, perhaps sacrifices, perhaps offerings, and that, here, that this was quite an important spot. My sense is, just like the rock mound on the first terrace, this one here, which seems to be on the final terrace, is also quite an important place. And it's right in the centre as well. But it continues. So moving on from this floored structure here, which seems to be like a very small building, perhaps an observation point, we continue backwards here, and we find two much larger blocks which are horizontal now, but arguably could have been erected in the past. They almost have the feeling of some kind of gateway over another small stone into another area where there's also a very large block here, but I'm clearly inside something. Now, whether this is a walkway, another room, I don't know, but I then go back, and this is the final line of monoliths here, which are orientated essentially east-west and seem to form the southern boundary, because outside of this, as I stand on this particularly red earth which we find at the site, other than what appears to be some fallen monoliths over there, we are at the end of the site. And looking back, I would say that there was some kind of walkway leading to this floored area that we've just encountered. What layers we're dealing with here? Maybe the remnants of layer 1 from the Metal Age. Maybe there is some stones here from the earlier period, maybe the larger ones. I don't know, but let's have a look, see what happens when we walk over towards the east, and we come to the boundary corner of the final terrace. And beyond this, there are plenty of stones scattered about, but these could have come from a much larger building or from the interior of the final terrace and just tumbled down the hill over the hundreds, if not thousands of years. So there's a further mound over here, rock mound here, that we can see. This is clearly something that was larger. This is to the southeastern corner. I've no idea what this represents, but as we then walk over to the southwest corner, we don't find something similar. But there's a very large block here, about a metre and a half, maybe a metre 3/4 in length, and this is clearly an important feature. It may in fact form part of another boundary, because there's another one like it going north-south here. So there was clearly a structure here as well. So trying to unravel this is going to take a while, and at the moment, as you can probably hear from the sound, it is raining and it's getting heavier and heavier. It's the rainy season in Java, so I think for the moment I should take shelter and continue the search in a minute.
Jadi tempat itu adalah tempat duduknya raja.
That's like you said, they said it's the throne for king sit there.
Well, that confirms exactly my feelings as I first stood on that spot.
Sebelah kiri itu permaisuri.
Yeah, so there are kings, and on the left side is for queen.
Sebelah
the left
kanannya
hand.
itu resi.
On the right side is
Priest.
Priests. So the king would have stood in the middle, where the floor is, the stone floor,
Yeah.
and to the left his queen, and to his right the priest. Okay.
High priest.
Yeah. High priest, of course. And is this an old story connected with it, or is this something which
Because this place is apa? Pelantikan kan namanya kan?
pelantikan.
Bukan inaugurasi.
Bukan.
Incarnation. For incarnation of the king for whole Nusantara.
an incarnation?
Incarnation.
Coronation.
Coronation.
Okay, so the place where he would be crowned king. Yes? The coronation.
From the old king to the
Okay,
king.
right. And what about the queen?
just apa sih ngedampingin?
Just,
Any stories about the queen?
The king. So the
Okay,
king,
all right.
doesn't get lonely.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Okay. I mean, any other stories about the final terrace?
The final.
The highest
The highest.
terrace?
In ujungnya apa sih? In the end of the Terrace 5,
Yeah.
there is called Sang Hyang Rama and Sang Hyang Ibu.
Okay.
Sang Hyang Rama, meaning whatever the people or the human or the being life in the world,
Yeah.
the end is to back to mother and father.
Okay. So let's talk. Let's say that again. Let's say that again. Okay.
This is tea.
Okay. Excellent. Right. Let's talk this again. So are these two different positions?
Meaning?
So you gave me two names. What were those two names again?
In the end of the Terrace 5,
Yeah.
there is called Sang Hyang Rama and Sang Hyang Ibu.
So Sang Hyang Rama
And
here,
Sang Hyang Ibu, yeah.
Sang Hyang Ibu here. So two
Sang
places.
Hyang Rama, Sang Hyang Ibu.
Okay, right. So these are the two places that I think we saw the little rock mound in the southeast and the other rectilinear structure on the southwest corner. So, and these represent the beginning of life and the end of life.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about rebirth? To come again?
That's not.
You're not sure.
yeah.
They didn't go that far. They didn't work that one out.
Yeah.
Okay.